All right, Jet fans. It is high. It's far. It is Friday, February the 6th, 2026, and we do have late breaking news right here. As retweeted by me on my X account, Flatbush Frankie. My name is Frankie from Flatbush. This is FSPN. The Jets have hired a coach. We got ourselves a coach. A tight end coach. According to Omar Ruiz, the Jets are hiring former Steelers tight ends coach Alfredo Roberts, so Freddie Bobs, for the same position, according to a source with knowledge of the move. None of the other beat reporters are reporting on this. Antoine Staley also retweeted it. So they must not feel like this is big news. But the nice thing is that we're now, we're kind of like hiring a lot of these staff members of that came from the Steelers. So Carl Dunbar, we got him. He's a defensive line coach and universally praised as one of the best. He comes from the Steelers. He was also formerly with us. But now we get Freddie Bobs, and Freddie Bobs also comes from the Steelers. So I think this is good news. Why not? We're trying to fix the culture. And we got some very interesting comments this week from Mr. Harrison Phillips. And shout out to Richie Molora of Jets Media. He's down there with Roundtable Sports, his company, and got an excellent quote from Harrison Phillips describing what the Badlands boys call the Mope. The Mope. And it says, Phillips said, I think AG inherited a very cancerous, truculent group. Whole, top to bottom, Phillips said to Richie. It's not individual people's fault, he said. I was there for one season. It was a very difficult season, and I almost wanted to waver on some of my thoughts and my beliefs and my optimism. So I can't imagine being there for year after year after year after year, not seeing results that you wanted, and it tainted people. So a very enlightening quote about something that many people have speculated upon with the Jets, which is the culture. And I do think a lot more is made of it than needs be. I mean, we just got to start winning. The culture will turn around in 2 seconds, but this is what is sometimes called the Mope. So we could be looking for Mope fixes. Well, how do we do that? Well, Frank Reich, for example, is a very positive individual. So is Kirk Cousins. These are people with a lot of experience, positive Christian types. Maybe we form the Christian Coalition when inside the building. Sam Howell could be in that mix as well. Just positive people. PFT also picked up this story, but if the Raiders wanted to trade the first pick and we wanted Mendoza, for example, that would be another type of person. He's a very positive, upbeat person. You would hate to see him get beaten down by our culture and by the losing. It's the losing plus the media is really what it is. It's probably easier to lose in Arizona than it is in New York because you have the worst of the worst in terms of the media. But it still sucks to lose in Arizona. I'm sure it's no fun, and I'm sure that people who go there tell you that culture sucks too. And same thing for Cleveland, and same thing for all the teams that lose. But being in New York makes it worse, of course. We have more media, and we have the worst of the worst. So we got that going on. One thing we could do, maybe in 1 to 2 years, we could hire Mike Tomlin to be our culture czar. He comes in, vice president of football operations, and he just spreads his Tomlinisms around, keeps everybody on the upbeat, something like that. He doesn't want to coach again. All right, give him an easy job. Not much to do, a lot of money. Maybe he'll come and help out a buddy. Maybe AG will be around till then. But we'll have to see. So that's what's going on with the Jets buzz right now. Earlier today, we learned that Greg Roman going to the Giants. So we lost out on Greg Roman, unfortunately. And so, but you think about it, it makes a lot of sense for Roman to go to the Giants rather than here because the Giants have a better situation. Harbaugh's his buddy, worked for him for a long time, and why not reconnect with him, go to a more stable situation, and plus they have their quarterback in place already. Whatever you think of Jackson Dart, he's there, and so you can start, preparing your plans and getting things ready for Dart. Whereas with us, it's like, who knows? Maybe it'll be Cousins. Maybe it's going to be Malik Willis. Maybe it'll be Justin Fields. We have no idea what it's going to be, but maybe it's going to be Ty Simpson. I mean, who? It's just too much of a question mark. So as long as he had that option, it makes perfect sense for him to go there. Oh, well, we lost out. It happens all the time. One of the things that you're seeing now, too, is sort of like, and this will be the last thing under Jets buzz, then this is sort of in the random thoughts category of old Frankie. But we're starting to see the death of the CEO coach. There used to be this concept of the CEO coach. I'm going to be the CEO, and I'm going to delegate out to all of my lieutenants, this and that. Yeah, very few head coaches can do that. Harbaugh, Tomlin, very few. Otherwise, they're either offensive guys calling the plays, and now you're starting to see the defensive guys, whether it's Robert Saleh down in Tennessee, whether it's Jesse Minter. Minter is coming, they say in Baltimore. Whether it's Jesse Minter or now Aaron Glenn, they're all going to take on the play calling, and I think this is a great thing. It keeps these guys engaged in the game. Saleh even said it. When I wasn't calling plays at the Jets, I was the red flag and timeout guy. Very disconnected from the game. And that's not good for having to make, important decisions. You want your head in the game. And the way to keep your head in the game is to be calling plays, see what's going on, try to adapt, adjust, be responsible for all the play calls. So even though we got to it in a roundabout way and we played around with the wink idea and on whatever happened there, nonetheless, I think we got to a good place. I think we all agree we'd rather have Aaron Glenn just call the plays. We get this Duker guy to be the apprentice, basically. Pay him a little bit of money. Don't forget, we still got to pay all those people we fired. What, he's still got to pay those people, So how much are you going to pay for defensive coordinator coaching, essentially, when Glenn is a defensive guy? You still got to pay Wilkes. You got to pay all the people on his staff you fired. And they wanted to bring on Wink for $4, $5, $6 million more. Woody was probably right, saying, hang on here. What are we doing? So you have Duker. He's the apprentice now. That's good. He makes $1 million, whatever it is, and he's the apprentice for a couple of years. Glenn calls it. We get it straightened out, and then he can hand it off to Duker, give him a pay bump, and that's the optimistic case. We should be hoping that Glenn can stick around. Turn it around, develop, have a much better year, and stick around and stay long-term. That's what we got to be hoping for. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to ever turn this around and ever get coaching in here. So we basically wound up with Glenn and Frank Reich, and we'll see who else we're able to get on Reich's staff. We now know we got this tight end coach, but we don't know anything else at this point in time. So we'll have to see how that goes. But even though it was a roundabout, that's actually a pretty good ending point. So let's see how it goes. Now all eyes are going to turn to obviously the quarterback and then building up the personnel on the team. Coaching is one thing. Players are much more important. Okay, ding. Point 2. Media sizzle. What's going on with the media? Well, we got to give a golf clap, definitely golf clap, to Richie and his buddies with the Roundtable Sports crew. I think Richie is doing a phenomenal job going down to the Super Bowl convention center there, wherever they have it, and getting little interviews with people and doing a good job asking excellent questions, the kind of questions you would want asked, not necessarily trying to get clickbait, this, that, but doing an excellent job. So you got to give it up to him. And if you remember, I said this is what's going to happen. You're going to see more outfits like Roundtable and Richie and those guys taking over. And similarly, this week you saw the Washington Post laying off most of its sports department because they're doing a terrible job. And there's people who can do a much better job. and it's starting to form up. The alternative media is going to overtake the mainstream media and basically become part of the mainstream media. It'll be an evolution of things. Things don't just disappear in totality. They just change, morph. This goes down a little, this goes up a little. That's what's going to happen. But it was very interesting to see those two events simultaneously occur. It was like, okay, here's the rise of the alternative media, and then here's the decline of part of the mainstream media. We would like to see some of these other mainstream media people go out of business, but, ESPN's not going out of business anytime soon. Neither is the New York Times, which is what The Athletic is from. Jeremy Fowler says the Ravens are hiring Marcus Brady as pass game coordinator. Okay, that doesn't matter. Who cares? Some of our beat reporters are very, very lackadaisical and quiet today. I don't even know what's... Alfredo Roberts, Freddie Bobs, was reported by Omar Ruiz, whoever that is. And none of our beat reporters are even retweeting it except for Antoine Staley. It's very strange. I don't know what's going on with these beat reporters. They seem to be sleeping or on vacation or drunk off their ass. I don't know. But anyway you look at it, good job Roundtable Sports. Good job Alternative Media. Bad job Washington Post Sports section. And screw the mainstream media. Okay. So what else do we got? That's kind of a light news day. We're trying to scratch out a little news here on a Friday. Jim Schwartz resigning. He says, I'd rather quit than work for this bum over here. Todd Monken. I'm not working for Monken. You crazy? Not going to work for that man. He's no good. I am so much better. Suddenly, Jim Schwartz gets a Hispanic accent. Schwartz, he said, I'm out of here. Fuck you people. Unbelievable. He had 2 years left on his contract. He's not even free to get another job now because they didn't fire him. They wanted him back. They offered him even more money. He had 2 years on a lucrative deal. They offered him even more money, and he said, no way, no how. I am not working for no Todd stinking Monken. So I don't know if it was about that or the fact that they just passed him up. He wanted to be the head coach there, and they said, no, we're going with the old monkey over here. And so very strange goings on. And the idea now is they're going to promote from within. They're just going to raise up people through the ranks, and somebody will take over for their staff. The strange thing is they got so many good players on that defense. Does it really matter who's calling out for cover one and cover two? And that's the other thing with this hullabaloo about Wink. Or is it going to be Glenn or this or how much money? The defensive coordinator is important, don't get me wrong, but not nearly as important as the offensive play caller. Not nearly. All right, give me cover one. Give me cover one with a TE stunt. All right. And Quincy, you're going to green dog the running back. All right. I could do it. If I could call the plays on defense. Now, I couldn't call the plays on offense. But if I could call the plays on defense... why do I got to pay $20 million for this? Woody says. And he's right. Yeah, Frankie from Flatbush could do it. Do I got to pay $20 million to you bums? So the funny thing is with the Browns, whoever they hire, you watch, whoever they hire, they'll be saying, wow, this guy's amazing. It could be some guy you've never heard of, Ephraim Banda or whoever, some guy from their staff. And then next year they were saying, Ephraim Banda is such a genius. What a defensive mind he has. He's incredible. It's the players, okay? It's like Matt Burke. I get a kick out of people telling me Matt Burke is a great defensive coordinator. Matt Burke was on Robert Saleh's staff as a game management coach. And he winds up going on DeMeco Ryans' staff. And all of a sudden, he's a defensive genius. Give me Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter. I'll be pretty genius, too. I'm just saying. And not to mention all the other monsters they have over there. Give me Myles Garrett. I'll figure out how to get a sack or two. These defensive. So we got to restock this fucking defense as far as players are concerned. Glenn should have been much more concerned about how we're going to get enough players who can play instead of wringing his hands on is it going to be Wink? Is it going to be Jim O'Neill? Should I do it? You do it? He do it? I don't know who can do it. You should have been more worried about the players. And you should have said, I'm going to call the plays because if this thing goes down in flames, I'm going to at least give it my 100% that I know on the defensive side. I didn't just trust somebody else because we know that Glenn can be a good defensive play caller. He's already proven it with the Lions. As they got better people, the defense got better and better and better. And when they had adversity in the last year, they were still a top 5 defense per DVOA, even with all of the injuries that they had. And you remember there was just injury after injury. Still had a top 5 D. And that tells you that's basically all you really want out of your DC. No one can be a good DC with terrible players. That's obvious. You want a DC, if you give them good players, they can have a good defense. If you give them great players, they can be a great defense. And if you face a little adversity, you can still keep up some level of goodness by your good DCing. You understand? It's not so. The whole weird thing about that whole rigmarole was just Glenn should have said, F it, Wilkes screwed this up. I'm getting rid of Washington and Curry. Okay, fine. But then everybody else, you stay in place. I'll call it. We'll replace them. And then the idea with the offense was good, though. Let's get a head coach of the offense. That's a good idea. And then you get an old head, like Frank Reich. Great choice. And you let him run the offense. Because what in reality does Aaron Glenn know about the offense anyways? It reminds me of an old story of, you remember, what was his name? Tim McCarver, the broadcaster. You probably remember him with the Mets. Well, he was Bob Gibson's personal catcher, you may not realize. Or if you were a Met fan, you probably do realize because he talked about it all the time. But my favorite story of the McCarver-Gibson era was there was a particular game where Gibson was struggling a little bit for Gibson. And so McCarver comes out to the mound, as catchers do, to talk to him about it, calm him down. And Gibson turns around and goes, what are you doing out here? McCarver's like, well, we got to just calm down. We'll get the next bat, whatever he said. And Gibson just looked at him and said, what the hell do you know about hitting other than you can't do it? Go back there. Get back there. And that's because McCarver couldn't hit either. But that's kind of like the way I think about offense. How's Aaron Glenn going to be a CEO of the whole team? He's going to be in charge of the offense, the defense, and the special teams, sort of, but like only as a supervisor. And I'm going to have these lieutenants run everything. And how's he going to give feedback on the offense? He doesn't know anything about it. What does he know? He played special teams and defense. He knows those real good. Offense, not really. So this was a better plan anyway. No matter how we got here, this was the better plan. Now we need to just stock the roster full of quality players, and we'll be fine. That was a bit of a rant, a bit of a tangent. Let's look at late breaking news. Well, there's not a ton of news. It is Super Bowl week, so things are a little slow now. It is Friday, so everybody's probably flying home from the Super Bowl if they're not staying there for the game. And what else do we got? We got Schwartzy, Malik Neighbors for the Giants, likely to miss the start of the season because he also had a meniscus tear. So had a bunch of stuff that he got fixed. What does that mean? Why are we bringing that up? Well, pretty much the Giants are taking a wide receiver at 5. And so even if they re-sign Wan'Dale Robinson, I still think they're going to take one. And then that way they have 3 for Mr. Dart to see if what he can really do. And so that affects the draft. And so if you think, and I think that's going to start a run if it doesn't start even earlier, on the top 3. There's a big 3 wide receivers. If you're hoping for one at 16, I just don't see it happening. Could be wrong. You never know. Things change. NFL's weird. But it seems to me those big 3 wide receivers are going way before 16. And that means that we probably absolutely need to sign a free agent of the quality of at least a Romeo Doubs. And based on the projected salaries for Doubs, we can blow him out of the water. Hopefully. You never know. Somebody else may really want him and give him tons of money. But I think we could do really well with a $16, $17 million offer to Dobbs, get him in here, and now we got our big three, Garrett, Dobbsy, and, of course, Mitchie. So that way, we just stick to defense. Those first 4 picks should probably all be defense then, assuming that we sign a Cousins, which is a whole other story. But that's really where we are. Let's just check real quick for any late breaking news. Of course, as soon as I stop recording, the Jets will probably make huge, massive announcements. Jet beat writers, nobody's saying anything. It's amazing. These people are quiet as hell. Man. Very, very strange. All right, no other late breaking news then. All right, if you have any questions, comments, don't leave them in the comments down below. Don't do that. What you got to do is save it. Write it down. Save it for Sunday. Sunday is Coffee with Frankie at 10 a.m. That's when you want to ask the questions. Sunday, 10 a.m., Coffee with Frankie. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel down below so you can participate in Coffee with Frankie and join the Inner Circle. Why not? You get exclusive extra items, and it's well worth $2 a month. Click the join button down below. See ya.